Hello everyone and welcome back to the Artificial DM. Hope you're all doing well today. So for today, we've got a mishmash of different short horror stories. Be sure to stick around till the end so you can hear all of them. This story is from Sea Monster 907. Cthulhu campaign completely derailed. So this happened a few years ago. It was my first time running a campaign. I had run a one-shot within a Star Wars game a friend was running, and that was my entire amount of experience. I had just bought Call of Cthulhu RPG and decided to run a game. I figured short and sweet campaign, 3 sessions, beginning, middle, and end. I had 6 players, so my plan was to run 2 groups of 3 completely separate for parts 1 and 2. They would be roughly a mirror of each other. Then, last session, all 6 players meet to fight the final boss coming from parallel dimensions, having played the same story. Players work together at a private detective agency. Group 1. First session goes off without a hitch. Kerfuffle at a speakeasy as the intro. No combat. A responding policeman recognizes them and says Chief of Police was trying to get a hold of them. Go visit the next morning. Next day, they visit a mysterious crime scene. Follow leads to an old historian, leads to farmhouse out in the country, spooky things happen, end. Everybody had fun. Players reacted to things within the realm of normalcy. Group 2. Complete disaster. I do acknowledge that much of this was my own failure to rein a particular player in. I won't call him that guy. He's not a jerk, a weeb, or an edgelord. He doesn't try to kill player characters. We are all friends in real life. He is a wild card, in-game and real life. I also was too willing to just go along with him. I also added unnecessary detail. So the kerfuffle at the speakeasy. First thing Wildcard does is pull his gun out and say, "Nobody move!" Half a dozen gangsters pulling out Tommy guns and telling him to leave immediately stopped his antics, but only for the moment. They get told to meet the police chief the next morning. Players 1 and 2 go home. I go pick up a lady of the night. Dude, I'm not gonna roleplay that. It's to gather info. These ladies interact with crime people, but also the rich and powerful. They know things. I probably should have just said no. I didn't. 2 minutes later. She is scared and confused by your nonsensical interrogation. She cuts you with a razor blade soaked in garlic and hops out of the car. I'm sure you're wondering why a razor blade would be soaked in garlic. The players were too. She was scared of vampires. It was just a little detail I thought of in the moment to enhance the setting. I am dumb. Wildcard chases her to an apartment building, can't get in, and decides to stake the place out until she leaves. I explicitly tell him it was just flavor. You would say that. I think the mayor is a vampire. Players 1 and 2 end up doing the crime scene without him, since he refuses to leave the stakeout. Eventually, I just have her leave the building so he can finish the interrogation, even though he has 0 clue what they are investigating yet. Finally satisfied, he meets up with players 1 and 2 to catch his character up on what he missed. They decide to do this at a diner. They are all inexplicably extremely rude to the waiter. Roll insight. Player 2 succeeds. You think being that rude for no reason probably means somebody spit in your food. Again, I am dumb. Just pointless asides. Player 2, caught up in things, going off the rails. I go confront the chef! Hey, customers aren't allowed in the kitchen! Player 2 punches chef. Chef grabs knife. I shoot him in self-defense! I go take the money out of the register! And that is how they all got arrested for murder and grand larceny. Wildcard was basically a that guy. He wanted to pull out his weapon and start a fight for no reason. He wanted to go pick up a lady of the night. And even though the DM told him, hey, there's nothing to follow up with this woman here, he was determined to go with that plot point. Basically what happens when that guy is in the group. This story is from Skating Rogue. First time DMing and a guy starts hitting himself mid-session. Hello. I made an account specifically to post the story, since I still run this game and still get pretty frustrated with this kind of behavior. Feedback is welcome and much needed. I am not a native English speaker, so sorry for any grammar mistakes. For a bit of context, this campaign is my first ever campaign. I'm running a homebrew world in the D&D 5e system. The people playing are my friends, and we'll call that guy Greg. I dated this guy, but later discovered I was gay and ended up breaking up with him and agreeing to continue to be friends. We were playing at his house, and it was the 5th or 6th session. Greg always complained he didn't want to make characters that actually rolled to hit because he's so unlucky. Me and my friend, we'll call him Kevin, told him it's fine and to try to enjoy the game nonetheless. The session starts with tough combat. 2 players went unconscious and 1 nearly died. Greg played a druid and was unfazed by combat most of the time, but his attacks in this battle had a hard time getting through with the resistance to non-magical attacks. Greg rolls poorly, and when he does roll well, he doesn't do much damage. The battle lasted a long time, maybe close to an hour and a half. We watched Greg get progressively angrier, pouting and sighing loudly, refusing to look at me or other players, refusing to roleplay or cooperate when I asked him for numbers. I am not a very confident person, and I was starting to think my game was shit because he wasn't enjoying himself. Other players were gasping and roleplaying, and in general, having a blast with the tough combat. When the battle ends, Kevin has an important roleplay moment for his character, only to be overshadowed by the loud, sad sighs and generally icky antics from Greg. The party heals up and continues to explore the dungeon. They come across some captives and decide to split up to take them somewhere safe, while the less beaten up bunch go and finish the dungeon off. I didn't think it was a good idea, but decide to let them think for themselves. Greg and other players get to the last room to see a priestess trying to sacrifice a child. They gang up on her. Roleplay ensues to try and convince her to let go of the child. Greg wild shapes into a spider and tries to grab the child and move away. The priestess is a warcaster and proceeds to cast Inflict Wounds at Greg as an opportunity attack. She crits. Immediately, Greg starts shouting, sighing, and promptly hits his head against the table loudly, then proceeds to punch himself in the face repeatedly and grunt. I shoot Kevin a look of distress, which he shrugs about, but with a concerned face. The game pretty much died there. Everyone was visibly deflated. I was very frustrated and concerned. We never talked about it again. We slept at his house since it was very late, and he made us very uncomfortable the whole time. In the morning, he cried before we left. Now some regards. From dating him, I know Greg is very dramatic. He always says he's mentally ill, but also told me he constantly lies to his therapist. He also has a very attention-seeking demeanor, and can't bear to lose anything. Through our multiple campaigns with the same group, he always has meltdowns and always slows games down with constant questioning of DM rulings and claims of metagaming. I like him as a friend, and I am very afraid that being his ex affects how he plays alongside me. I never have DM ruling problems with other players, and nobody else has meltdowns in our games. I also had trouble balancing encounters with his druid, since his power level was so much greater than the rest of the party. I will admit, sometimes I treated him with a bit of sass and annoyance reflecting my issues with his player character. That is my fault. When we dated, he told me that if he got too angry, he could try and hit me. Mind you, I am half his size, and he does Muay Thai, as if he was a blind, raging animal. I was very scared, and that was part of why I broke up with him. Because of his anger issues, I am very afraid of bringing up these meltdowns to him and bringing up to the other players. They simply didn't seem to be too bothered. Am I being picky or annoying? I just want everyone to have fun, and his meltdowns slow down the group and kill the mood sometimes. Since nobody else complains about my DMing, I think it has to do with him, but I could be wrong. I would be very grateful for feedback and opinions on how to deal with it. Thank you for listening. TLDR. Ex-boyfriend gets frustrated with bad luck and hits himself in the face. DM is frustrated by his meltdowns and confused to see he's the only one complaining constantly about her game. Edit. I talked with some of my players about the situation, and one of his best friends is going to talk to him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but most certainly, I'll be leaving the group for better and cutting Greg off. Thank you for the kind and caring comments. It sounds like Greg really has some issues to work out. I feel like one of his friends needs to actually get a hold of the therapist and explain that Greg has been lying and maybe even tell some of the things that have been going on at their games. It could be very eye-opening to the therapist. Self-harm of any kind should be prevented, and I feel like talking to the therapist is probably one of the best ways to do so. And this story is from HG80, that guy in training. I'm still a bit frustrated about this, so I'm going to vent a bit here. Also, mild Dragon Heist spoilers. I'm DMing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and I told everyone beforehand that we would be trying it for a game with a bit more roleplay, as most of our games had been combat-based, and everyone had said that they would like to try more roleplay. Background on the problem player. He decided to play a chaotic neutral Kenku monk, even though I said we were running Dragon Heist. I thought that maybe he had a plan for being able to roleplay with Kenku, but he never did anything even when I tried to involve him directly. He was basically a that guy in training. Let's call him Doug. We had been going for a bit and we hit level 4 last session, and the players were going to go down in Grindagarla's apparatus of Qualish in search of treasure. I modified it to be able to hold the whole party as I thought that would be more fun. The players were down at the bottom of the harbor and a huge shark attacked. The Water Genasi fighter and Dragonborn Warlock went out of the apparatus by using control water to keep the water from rushing in when the back opened, while the Rogue and Doug stayed inside. The Rogue was using their claws to attack, while Doug did nothing. He could have attacked with claws on his turn too, but he wouldn't for some reason. He would just sit there every turn, complaining that I had nerfed his class. You chose to go underwater. This was your idea. Eventually on one of his turns, when Doug kept complaining that his class was useless and all that crap, I had enough, so I told him to stop complaining about everything that would happen, and then he freaked out about how no one at the table was having fun, and that no one wanted to play a roleplay heavy game, to which the rest of the players said that they were having fun, and he shouldn't talk for them. Doug then insisted to the players that they weren't having fun, and that I was a garbage DM, and then he quit the game. Thank Paylor. TLDR. Group tries roleplay heavy game. Everyone likes it, but edgy Kenku. Kenku tells the players that they didn't like it. Players say he's wrong, and Kenku quits. Do I even need to go into this story? I don't think I do. Be generic McFighterson III. Be happy with your life as an incredibly skilled practitioner of the light flail, capable of holding your own with these weirdos you call friends. Except the kobold. That thing can stay the floop away from you. One day, you start hearing voices. Think it's just the chili from last night and ignore them. Go to sleep and get some trippy dream involving some angel of self-harm or some shit. Call you her chosen. Tell her to go away. You want to sleep and you're perfectly comfortable being an atheist. Bitch makes a nasty cut across your chest. It's there in the morning. Looks like a symbol. Get the cleric to try and heal it up. No effect. Still bleeding. Symbol is still there. Bandage it up and ignore it for now. Process repeats each night. Emo bandaged angel comes down and tries to make you her chosen one. Keep telling her you don't want to. Get cut, wake up next morning with more unhealing wounds. Ruins the sleeping bag. Eventually start to die from all of this. Pass out one final time and see sadistic angel again. Offers to make you her chosen one final time. Tell her to floop off so you can die in peace. She sends you to hell for rejecting an angel's offer. Soul is now forever damned to suffering and torment because you didn't want to give up your career as world's greatest metal on meat beater. The DM was trying to force me to take a class in Paladin because he didn't like the fact I was playing such a generic character when compared to everyone else. Guy literally killed my character because I refused to play something I didn't want to. My face won. As a DM, you can go ahead and prompt your players for either story narrative or character narrative, whatever it may be. But if they do not want that plot, don't press it and pursue it. Have you ever been in a game that one of these stories reminded you of? If so, you can share your tale on Reddit and then send me a link over on Discord. And if you enjoyed the tales, please hit the like button. It really does help the channel out and I appreciate it. That's going to do it for today. And until next time, hope you feel inspired.